Alright everybody, so we may actually have some issues with the way this is working. Maybe? Maybe not. Alright, let me just... Alright, there's my hand. There's not my hand. Just trying to make sure this isn't being overly latent. Alright, okay, hold on a second, guys. We're running a new system here. And for some reason, we've got a couple of things that I need to work out here, it looks like. Let me just... I didn't kill the audio there for the stream. And then, let's see here. Let me try to get the background audio to die off here. Alright, that should have canceled out the background audio. Right? Alright, that should have... It did, okay. Yeah, so folks, we are streaming in 4K right now, but YouTube's not picking up on it because I didn't... I've got the wrong settings selected, so we're only in 1440p. But the connection out here at the car is a little bit sketchy. I might actually have to power up a generator and then turn on another Starlink out here. But a couple things that are going on. If you haven't seen the YouTube community post, go check that out. It's a fucking bee. Get out of here. Sorry, I don't do bees. Go check out the community post. I'm really not in the mood to do the full story time on it here, but just go check out the community post here. read up on what's kind of going on here with vehicles and such. But this is the newer truck, and this thing's going to basically be parked and just saved for special use cases, because I can't afford to drive this thing. You know, General Motors is one of the shittiest car manufacturers ever, and if anybody wants to argue that, I've got the receipts for this thing that say that they're garbage. Not necessarily the old stuff, though, because that thing's been really good. So what I want to do today, I've got a bunch of stuff coming, because that's going to get re-equipped for full-time use. It's going to match the other Tahoe, the 2012, or the brownish tan one. So they're going to be identical trucks. I'm going to run those all the time. And then this will be a backup or a spare, because those are a hell of a lot cheaper and a hell of a lot more reliable. It's two-wheel drive, but I don't care. I'll get some snow tires for this winter, and we'll just full send it. We'll put some Toyo WRTs or whatever the hell they are on it, and full send it, and it'll be just fine. So a couple of things. I've got a bunch of stuff coming in the mail that should arrive soon, so we can unbox that if it shows up. But I need to figure out what's going on with this truck. It's got a dead number 5 cylinder, which is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's this one back here. And it's not firing. And guys, I am for those of you that aren't familiar, I am actually a certified Ford technician. Went through dealership program and everything. I know this is not a Ford, but yes, it has spark. Yes, it has fuel. Yes, it has compression. I appreciate everybody's input, but I know when I mentioned this prior, some people kind of got pissy with me saying, oh, it's a spark plug. No, guys, we've checked all that. I believe we've got some sort of internal engine issue, and I'm going to pull the valve cover because I wonder if we've got something going on in the top valve train. But what it's getting to basically, guys, is I keep dumping so much money into this thing. This thing's just not financially responsible to be driving and putting so many miles on. We'll just drive it for, adventuring and stuff. But I actually was considering pulling the heads on this today, which is not hard to do. You pull the air intake out, you pull the fuel air runner, the intake out, which is this thing here. It's not, sorry, I can't see the screen with the sun. It's really not that hard to get out. Pull that out, and then the heads are here. You got a head bolt down here. Heads come all the way, but these heads, there's really not that much to pulling this motor, and I'm actually considering maybe over the winter, maybe we just need to get this thing in the shop and pull it ourselves and live stream it. 200,000 miles, and I think it needs an engine. It's on its 3rd transmission. Think it needs an engine. Knock on wood. That's 230 something thousand miles. No DOD lift or delete. And well, this thing's super quiet. Here, I'll start this thing up and show you what it's doing. It's misfiring like you wouldn't believe. All right. So you can hear it miss. Oh, well, you know what? It's ticking really bad. It's clunking in there. There's something wrong. Yep. There is damage in there. You can hear it. Hear that intermittent tick? Not the exhaust, not the tick from the click, click. Anyway, it's misfiring at number 5. So yeah, there's that intermittent clicking. These DOD or AFM. Hold on, let me pull up the preview again. If we have some issues today, it's because of the new system. DOD or AFM. Hold on, let me pull up the preview again. If we have some issues today, it's because of the new system. Okay, we just got really low signal out here. That's not good. Hold on. Yeah, I might need to run the generator and fire up another Starlink, but basically the way these work, at least on these, I believe the newer ones, which are after 2020, so 2021 and up, this applies to all this one. All right, we've got terrible signal out here. Let this stabilize for a minute here. Sorry about this, guys. All right, we've got terrible signal out here. All right, well, let this try to stabilize here. I think what I'm going to have to do, because I can't leave the truck running while we do this, I'm going to have to pull my gas generator over here and power the truck. This is just reaching the house, and we live out here in the sticks. I don't have cell connection. Let's do that real quick here. I'll sit you guys. All right, we're gonna put that generator back here because I don't want to listen to it. So I'm gonna sit you guys right here. And we're gonna run the extension cord into the truck Starlink just so that we can have a better connection. I would just run it on the truck batteries, but they're pretty low from sitting, so I don't trust them. And I'm going to run this cord back as far as I can because I don't want to listen to that stupid thing. Oh, shit. Are we even getting bit rate? Yeah, we are. All right, well, we'll put it over here on the other side of this truck. I can't see. This side? Yeah. All right, if this starts on the first pull, it's a miracle. Small miracle. Okay, so, hold on. All right. Running. All right, so that'll take about 5 minutes and it'll boot up the Starlink in the truck, and then we'll switch to that and get a better signal. So this is just what happens when you live in the middle of nowhere and don't have cell towers or anything. Nothing I can do about it, folks. That'll get us better signal here. But basically, like I was saying, fuel is they have lifters in them, and the lifters, this is a push rod engine, so down in the middle of the engine, it's a V shape, so down in the middle there's, you know, the camshaft, and then it pushes, the lobes in the camshaft push on these lifters, which are about that big. Then there's a push rod that comes up, and your valves are up here, and it pushes on a little lever or a rocker arm, and then that pushes down on the valve. In order to, god damn this fucking bee, Jesus Christ. Sorry, I don't do bees. Anyway, so these things collapse to save fuel. So when oil, there's solenoids and stuff in there that will shut off oil flow and turn oil flow on to these lifters on 4 of these cylinders when the truck decides it needs them or doesn't need them, and it will basically collapse them or pump them up. There's 4 cylinders, at least in this style, that have those DOD lifters. Hang on, let me see if this is running again. At least in this style. DOD lifters. Hang on, let me see if this is running again. At least in this. Sorry guys, let me I'm gonna switch over to the Starlink. Give me a second. Okay, so are we coming up? We are. We're coming back up on Starlink, so that's good. So that should help. The Starlink in the house works fine. It's just the Wi-Fi doesn't reach out here. I need a little mesh node. Okay, so are we coming up? We are. So I'm still getting used to this new system. But there's like 4. I just can't see the screen on this thing. But there's 4. It's 1. I believe it's cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 and so yeah, 1, 4, 6, and 7. So this one, 2 over there, and then 1 back here that shut off for fuel saving, which doesn't really save you any fuel. It just makes your truck run like shit. It's common to delete this system or at minimum turn it off. Now I've had it turned off since 136,000 miles on this thing. It is not deleted, so they are still in there. But number 5, which is this one here, is not one of those DoD collapsible lifters, so I wouldn't really expect a lifter issue with that. But what I do think may have happened is maybe a bad roller. So on these lifters, there's these little roller wheels so that when the cam goes by, it's not just grinding on metal. It's possible, we see this a lot in the Ford 3 valves, the 5.4s, with the roller followers, same concept. Those rollers go bad, and then you don't notice it, and it starts wearing down on the camshaft lobe, and then I can't push that valve open all the way. Shop did a compression test for me on number 5, and there is compression. It's like 5 psi lower than all the other ones, but that's just normal wear and tear. I bet if I did a compression test on every other car in this driveway, they're all, you know, one's going to be a little higher or a little lower, but that's not enough to concern me too much here. What the fuck? That's not right. There's nothing retaining my air filter. Well, I might have just found our engine performance issue. Gotta be fucking kidding me. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna go on a rant here, and I have reasons for this. I am so sick and tired of General Motors. I went, big mistake, on the way down to that Hurricane, I stopped at a Chevy dealership. I needed an air filter because I forgot to change the air filter. And it had been a while, and I had some time to kill, so I stopped at a dealership, stopped at the parts department. I'm like, hey, can I just get an air filter for this? Because Walmart, I stopped at Walmart, they didn't have any. And I've got I've got a commercial account at O'Reilly's, and it's still cheaper to get the air filters at the dealership. And there was literally a dealership, this was in like Canton, Georgia or whatever. There's a dealership across from the O'Reilly's. I'm like, I'll just run into the dealership, get the Delco one. And the guy's like, oh, hey, yeah, that's cool truck. You just want us to put it in for you? And I'm like, sure, because this takes 4 screws, and it's a pain in the ass, is all it is. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So the service guy came out and threw it in for me. Where's my fucking screws? Like, once again, like, guys, I'm so sick and tired. Nobody takes pride in their work anymore. This applies to so many things. You know, when you do a job, whether it's for free or for hire, when you are in custody of somebody's stuff, you need to take care of it. That's just how I was raised. And look at this. Guys, this actually could be our problem right here. The mass airflow. What? How long has this been sucking unfiltered air? That's what I want to know. I'm about ready to tow this thing back down there. Like, I understand it was a favor, but that pisses me off. You didn't put my screws... You're fucking kidding me. Anyway, so this is sucking unfiltered air. That's great. But... this is going to provide inaccurate readings. It's still reading the mass airflow, the air going into the engine, but this isn't sealed. It's not right. We need to. I don't have any screws, but I do have zip ties or something. Or maybe I'll hold this down or something and run the engine and see if some of the roughness goes away. But that still doesn't explain that ticking. We still have an issue, but I think this might be a secondary issue. This might be some of the drivability or the rough running. Whereas that over there, the misfire, is a separate issue, because that would cause a multiple cylinder random misfire, not a single cylinder misfire, especially on number 5. Maybe I could see it with these front ones here, but this is goofy. So we're gonna, what a pain, kind of a pain in the ass to pull this valve cover. I may pull this valve cover I may not. I'm really losing my my give-a-shits right now, because now that I'm hearing that intermittent ticking in there, it tells me that there is something wrong in there, and if I'm going to pull it apart, I kind of want to fix it. I don't just want to pull it apart to look at it, so I might not pull that. But typically with a misfire, with a shake like that's what you would do. We identified it's number 5. So what you can do is you can start unplugging these coils. These are the coils here that send the spark to the spark plug. Your spark plugs are down here. Wires, coil. Some engines will have a coil on plug where the coil and the plug, or the thing, is right on top of the spark plug and just shoves down in there as a hole. But because this is a push rod engine, there's not room for that. So you would start unplugging these if you don't have a code or diagnostic equipment. You could start unplugging these one by one. Whichever one does not make a change in the way the engine is running is likely the misfire. So we did that. It's number 5. Number 5 has been pissed around with before, as you can see. As you can see, it's got some stuff going on here. Somebody's been in there, but this still tested good. Makes me wonder if this was a problem once before and somebody masked it. But anyway, pull the plug. You pull the coil off, and you swap it with a known good one. This is cylinder number 3. It's 1357. This is the odd bank. This is bank 1. So we took this coil, took the 2 bolts off, put it on that one, put that one on this one. If that misfire followed it to cylinder number 3, then we can safely condemn one of these coils, and you throw a coil at it. These are kind of pricey, like $100 a piece, I think, from GM. Maybe even more, but anyway, that didn't make a change. Next thing we would do is check the spark plug wires. Should be checking anyway. These push up in there really hard. Make sure they're pushed all the way onto the plug. Been there, done that. Pull them out, pull the spark plug out, check the spark plug. Maybe even swap plugs. Did that. No change. Your next thing is injectors. Now, most vehicles, like Fords, all that stuff, anything a little bit more modern. Now, given this is a modern vehicle, but this is an old engine, guys. This is an old engine design, these push rods, but in my opinion, much better. A lot of times the injector is up on the fuel rail or up top. On these, the injectors are under valve covers, right? I think. God, it's been so long since I have one of these apart. Either that or the injector's under the whatever. Shop did that for me. It's not the injector. This thing has fuel pressure, and it has high pressure fuel pressure. Guys, this thing is getting air, spark, and fuel, everything it needs, because this thing is making that ticking noise from right in this area. I suspect we either have a couple of things wrong. We either have, number one, we've got a lifter that has a worn roller on it, or the cam lobe is worn, which I have kind of a hard time believing, because it's really weird that we would just get it on one cylinder. But I'm leaning more toward we've got a lifter that's got a bad roller, and possibly the little bearing in the roller is bad and it's causing some excessive play. Or we could have a bent push rod or a goofy push rod. Very unlikely. Normally you'd hear some knocking with that. Same thing with or some ticking. Same thing with that bad roller on a lifter. You hear some ticking. I don't know why a push rod would just bend. So this thing hasn't been redlined or anything goofy. It's possible too that the rocker arm up here that goes from push rod to valve is damaged, loose, excessively worn. This has had all of its engine oil changes on time, but sometimes manufacturing defects, you know what I mean? So it could be something like that. It could also be like a burnt valve. I had an F-150, the 5 liters were actually known for burning exhaust valves in these back cylinders because the catalytic converters would plug up, they wouldn't set a code right away, and then it would get excessively hot back there and the exhaust valves would actually burn. And I had a misfire back there, and I actually had to take the head off and send it to the machine shop and get the valves done and everything resurfaced because it actually burnt some valves. I don't think that's what's going on here. But we could have something going on, that's just a minor manufacturing defect that took this long to show its face. I was actually, sorry to deprive you guys. I was going to pull this valve cover, but I'm not going to pull it, because if I'm going to pull it, I'm going to fix it, because when I put it back together, it might leak, and I don't have that gasket here. I was basically going to pull that blindly, not knowing what was wrong, but now I think there is something wrong under there. This truck probably needs an engine. I'll start it up again and we can kind of listen to it. Is it direct injected? Yeah. Oh, here, let me look at the chat. Let's see. Injector's not under the cover. They must be under the intake then. It's been so long since I've had one of these apart. Metal in the pan? No, guys, this thing's clean. I actually do those Blackwell or Blackstone Labs oil things. You send them to sample the oil, and it's never come back with anything wrong. They've even put in the comments, "Wow, what a nice engine," and all that. So it's unfortunate, but sometimes this stuff happens, guys. The problem is, and some of you guys in the chat know what I'm getting at here. The amount of time, if I spend diagnosing this, it's just time, which I don't really have. But if you're paying a shop $100 to $150 an hour, let's say it takes them even just a full day to diagnose this, you're talking, $800 to $900 just in diagnostics. There gets to be a point where it's just cheaper to put a freaking engine in it. I think Jasper sells a Reman AFM deleted motor for this, and I'm pretty sure it's like 38. No, maybe it's I think it's $4,200, and then you've got labor to put it in. But you might be at $6,000 for an engine. But if you're talking, if you're just doing diagnostic on this for 8 to 12 hours and then ultimately deciding you're putting an engine in, now you're in an extra $800 to $1,200. It's kind of like with these, they're so throwaway. Just throw an engine in the damn thing. And I'm actually considering just doing that myself. There's a lot of room in here to do this. Once you pull this airbox out and these accessories off the front cover, there's really a lot of room to get in here. Basically the process would be, I think I would pull this intake off. That's really not a bad job on these. No worse than the Ford 5.4s, just so you have this extra room. Pull the transmission bell housing bolts, pull the exhaust off, and torque converter bolts too, obviously. And then the motor mounts, and you've pretty much got an engine ready to come out the top. There's not a lot to these, and there's a lot of room in here. A lot of what's taking up all this room is just plastic. This all comes out, and you got plenty of room. So with 207,000 miles on it, and the fact that the rear end's been rebuilt and it's had all this stuff, and it's got actually a Jasper front diff in it from like 90,000 miles. It's been rebuilt. It's got a lot of rebuilt parts. It might just be more beneficial to throw an engine in this thing than to pull this out, pay somebody $6,000 to rebuild the stupid thing. It's like just throw a new one in with a warranty maybe. So that might be what we do. Yeah, I don't have anything to reseal that valve cover. I think this actually might even be a reusable gasket, but I don't. I'm very limited on what I have for tools at the house here. I also don't feel like fighting with these stupid locking connectors on there. But it's too bad because you put all this money into a vehicle and things like this happen, and this might not necessarily be the fault of anybody. This could just be, GM cheaping out on things. I was really hoping it was a coil. These coils have actually never been done. So I was hoping it was a coil, but it's not. But we need to solve that airbox leak. And then we also need to check this thing for additional damage. We need to check that mass airflow sensor as well, because that mass airflow sensor could have been damaged here with that thing sucking unfiltered air, and that can cause drivability issues. We do have a misfire and possibly physical damage, but this thing's driving terrible. It has 0 power. That no power concern might be the airbox issue. That might be separate from this. So we'll take a look at that. How much to put an engine in it? I have no idea. Like I said, it could be like, I'm guessing like $6 grand. You could throw a junkyard one in it, but it's just a waste of money. If I put it in, probably like $4,000. I don't know. I don't know what the going rate is on these. I'd probably get one from Jasper. I'm a real big fan of Jasper. Honestly, I just like their warranty and their customer service, because whenever something's wrong, they fix it. So let's take a look at what we got. Oh, we got a code now. Oh, no, we don't. It's just... Well, I'm going to try to see what we got for miles. 206,983. God, that sounds like shit. So, some of you may notice my idling oil pressure is right about 40. It's always been 40. Some of these, once it's full hot, it goes down to about 30, which is normal for these. They do sit pretty low. Even my other truck goes pretty low. But I actually do have a code now, which might be for me fiddling around under there. So we're gonna plug the reader in here. We're just gonna use the tuner because I don't know where my code reader's at. Oh, it's misfiring right now. Good. Still number 5? Yep. See, I pulled number 5, which disables spark, so it's not detonating, and the computer should shut off fuel to that. It's not making any change. 5 is still dead. See, if I unplug number 3, see how it runs like crap? And then it smooths back out. We should have a code for number 3 now because I unplugged it, but we'll just use the tuner to read the codes. I really need my code reader so you can look at misfire monitor data, but you know, that would just be too convenient right now. Yeah, it is actively misfiring. It has got the flashing check engine light, so I'm not even that upset, guys. You know, 200-something thousand miles, I mean, this can happen. It'll be really nice once it's done. Yeah, 0305 cylinder 5 misfire. Some of you guys are probably thinking it could be the tune. I did remove the tune. I put this thing back to factory, turned AFM back on just to see if it would do anything different. Oh wow, my oil pressure just shot up. It has never idled with that high. I have never seen the oil pressure on this go over like 41 or 42. Something's going on here. Seriously, I've never seen the oil pressure gauge to the right of 40, ever on this truck. And now we're at 55. Look at that. Look at that. Wow, okay. That's interesting. Let's unplug the code reader because it's possible that maybe that's screwing with the data. That could be a clue here. You got to look at all these things to find clues, so that's actually interesting. That actually is relevant. Let's see if it shoots back up. It's back to 40. That could have just been the code reader, guys. I was going to say, I wonder if we got plugged oil passages or something, but... yeah, that's the most I've ever seen. Okay, so I think that was just the code reader possibly giving erroneous data in there. That don't sound good at all. You can hear it missing too. Alright, I thought we were on to something. Alright. Yeah, it's got, I don't know if you can hear it on the camera, but it's got some valve clatter. Yeah, we did a compression test and all that, and it's surprisingly has good compression, but it's got a lot of valve clatter, and I just listened, the camera's not getting it, but it's got a lot of valve clatter or valve train noise from this bank, especially in the back. I also hear something whining up here, but I think that might just be the high pressure pump. Oh yeah, and it's much quieter over here. Keep in mind this has the valve cover like noise dampener on it still, so it's gonna be quieter, but it makes a lot of clacking noises over there. We need to reseal this airbox too, but we need to inspect this mass airflow sensor also. That'll have a lot of drivability concerns there too. But there's no coolant in the oil, no oil in the coolant, so Not a head gasket. It's got decent compression. Yeah. This is going to be kind of loud too. It's got, you know, fuel injectors and a high pressure fuel pump, so they're going to clatter. But you can see the motor shaking. That is not, that's our misfire there. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say, folks, that we could fiddle fuck around with this thing all we want, but it's probably just going to get an engine put in it, honestly. Because there's a point where it's like, is it really worth fiddling around? Hold on, we just switched. It's just, there gets to be a point where it's like, is it really worth fiddling around with, or do you just throw an engine in the stupid thing? And I think we might be at the point where, with this amount of miles and the fact that we have a backup vehicle, well, 2 backup vehicles, we might just be better off throwing a motor in this, because, you know, let's think about it here. Even if this wasn't an issue, some potential problems we could start having with this mileage are compression, DOD AFM lifter issues, stuff like that. Hell, we could start breaking off exhaust manifold bolts. That's pretty common on these. Surprisingly, this still has all of them. Real pain to get out, but not as bad as the Ford 5.4s. So, guys, I really think that because we don't have to have this vehicle in service right now, I think we're going to park this thing, and we're going to basically budget for an engine. And I might throw it in myself. It is not that hard to do on these. I've swapped them before in these. There's not much to do. You just pull this intake off, and you've got all sorts of room in here. You don't even need to pull the front clip off. This, honestly, especially for like somebody who might be a novice, these are really good engines and trucks to learn on, because it's this pushrod style motor. It's relatively old school. It's not too complex, and it's really easy to pull these engines out. I haven't pulled a lot of them out of these Chevys, but I have pulled some. Not in a new one like this, but still, there's a lot of wiggle room. This is a relatively small engine, honestly, for a V8. So I think we're probably just going to throw a motor at it, because I've been thinking about potentially getting this thing rebuilt. I've got an engine shop near me that does rebuild these performance builds, but I really have thought about just refreshing it. We've put all this money into transmissions, rear ends, transfer cases, odds and ends, suspension work. That I've been watching the miles go up, and you know, you think about it, by the end of June next year, I will probably have 300,000 miles on it, at which point it probably will need a motor, or at least some top end work. I'm kind of inclined to just stop the diagnostics and not give a shit about this, and just pull it out and throw an engine in it next month when the paychecks come in, so to speak, because you know, it's not, to me, it's not worth the diagnostics time. Like, just give me the peace of mind, just throw an engine in it. I could pull the heads on this, maybe it needs lifters, something, who knows, but to me, it's not worth it, because if you do all that work to the top end, what happens if you start having bottom end noise and you need to do, you know, crank bearings or something, or you've got piston blow by, you know, you get some worn out rings, or oil consumption issues, which this does not burn any oil, by the way, if anybody was wondering. It does not, so it's not that. But, you know, do you start having oil consumption issues? And it's like, you know, you hate to spend, you know, $2,000 to $3,000 doing the top end, and then you got to do the bottom end, and the bottom end on this, you got to pull the motor out. So it's like, you might as well just kill all the birds with one stone here with as many miles as you drive on it, and just swap it. Looking at chat here. What does the new engine cost? I have no idea. I haven't priced one. Probably, I would imagine from Jasper like $3,000 to $5,000. Nope, I don't have a cherry picker, but I tell you what, Harbor Freight's got a pretty cheap one that I sure as hell would use. If I needed this truck in service right now, if I had no other option, we'd be pulling that valve cover, and I'd possibly be preparing to pull the heads and maybe even do lifters and a DOD to lead on this thing. Chevy claimed the piston. Yes, actually, that truck over there has quite a bit of piston slap noise. It's always had. I've had this thing since 136 miles, or 136,000 miles, and it's got 230 something thousand miles on it now. I didn't do anything with the AFM or DFM until recently, when I did the deletes, disables, and all that shit. Didn't have a problem. It was all preventative, and It still has some piston slap noise. I did a compression test on this, and I forgot what the readings were, but I don't know, it was 100 and something, 120. I honestly don't remember. This was a couple months ago, but I did do a compression test on it, on all 8 cylinders, and they were all pretty equal. And I remember thinking, wow, this is pretty good. That is a solid truck over there. And it does have some of those, you know, the typical GM noises. This one does too, sometimes. But that's also the problem. If you take this to a shop where people don't know what they're doing, they hear one little noise. Oh, it's a rod knock. Well, no, it's just a cold engine. Like these 5.3s make some kind of goofy noises, especially these newer ones. Have I happened to pull injector 5 plug? I didn't. The shop did, and they sent me a video of them doing it. This intake's been off, and that's what reminded me. That's what they told me something about the fucking bee. Jesus Christ! I'm gonna freaking spray the hell out of that thing. They told me something about checking the airbox, and I didn't know what they were talking about, but I see what they're talking about now. Stupid dealership. So we'll take a look at this. We'll take a look at this one since we're doing engines and stuff. This one probably will make a little noise. But what's cool about this? Check out now. These miles are not accurate. It says 225, 765. You have to add like 8,700 something miles. I had to swap this cluster, and it's like 8,000 something miles low. If you hold this, we're going to see our engine hours. 7,328 engine hours. That's not bad. My other truck has 14,990. This engine basically has half the wear of that other one. So I like this truck. But we'll take a look here under this one. Same engine, different year. This is the old 5.3. And it's just a little loud. It's got some belt chirp. It does need a belt. But no valve train noise. Knock on wood. Just the loudness of an engine running. This is a good truck. Even more room in here for activities. But oh man, that's smooth idler. It looks like it might need to be replaced. It's just that smooth idler pulley's wobbling, chattering a little bit. That's where that noise is coming from. But it also needs a power steering pump. This is starting to leak a little bit. Not bad. It needs a rear main seal. I thought it needed a transmission, but I don't think it does. And I'll explain here in a second. It does need a rear main seal, so that's probably like what, $700, $800, $900. It's not too bad. You gotta pull the trans. I thought this needed a transmission, but it was shifting and doing all sorts of weird shit. But once again, the Chevrolet mass airflow sensor struck. This mass airflow sensor was changed out with a standard ignition one by a shop. I don't remember who it was. Right after I got it. Anybody who knows much about these knows that if you don't use an AC Delco or like a Delphi, a really good mass airflow sensor, these Chevys don't like them. They're not very forgiving. They're kind of like coils on the coil packs on the Fords. You got to use OEM. This thing was driving like shit. It wasn't downshifting. It was delayed shifts, and I'm like, well, maybe it's time. This has got a 4L65 in it, by the way, not a 6L80. And I thought, well, it's probably time for a rebuild or something. Got a code for a mass airflow sensor. Replace this with an AC Delco. This is actually a used one. I just had this laying around. A used OEM mass airflow sensor, and it's fine. Shift's fine. This thing couldn't read its own airflow, so it couldn't calculate its well, anything. It does have some noise in the back end. I think it's the trailing arms, which would be these here. These trailing arms that go from the axle to the frame. I think it's the bushings in those. You go over a bump, but it's like the back axle is dragging or sitting down. So it needs batteries, but other than that, guys, this has been a solid truck, especially with that 4L60 in it. We've got Ford Explorer over there. Guys, I would chase in that thing full time because it's all-wheel drive, good in the snow, and good on gas. The Ford Explorers are pieces of shit. And guys, coming from somebody, these things, they're just... The water pump's going to go bad. Well, the water pump's been bad. It's been replaced. $4,000 for the water pump, so you got to do timing chains and all that crap. The transmissions are not as bad. People say they're bad, but they're really not that bad. Transmission, you know, maybe $2,000 on there. The PTU will go bad if somebody hasn't done the fluid on it. Ford says do the fluid every 150,000. No, do the PTU fluid like every 30,000 because it only holds like a quart. And the PTU is basically the transfer case that sends power to the back wheels. There's only like a quart of fluid in there and it gets burnt and it goes bad. So PTU will go bad. That's going to be probably $1,500. The power steering racks in these, unless it's 2016 or newer, go bad. This has a bad power steering rack. I got one on order. That's a pain in the ass. The exhaust rots out on these. They just use thin pipe. Was just at the Mexican muffler place this morning getting that fixed. And anybody who wants to start throwing the race card at me, that is literally what the place is called. It's called like the Mexican Exhaust Shop. That is the name of the place. It is literally run by a family of Mexicans, and all they do is weld exhaust, and they're very proud of their work. And I can get basically brand new exhaust on a car like that for like $250, and it's good. So I said this on the last stream, and a bunch of people were like, oh, you're racist. No, that is literally the name of the shop, and it is literally a family of Mexicans who are literally like exhaust experts, and they're very proud of their welding, and they're honestly some of the best people I've ever met when it comes to car repairs. So that's what's got to get done with that. But I just can't drive those. I tried the newer ones, 2020 and up, the redesign. I probably could run those, but there's just too many throwaway problems. See, I'm not afraid to get canceled. Some of these people won't say stuff like that, but I'm not even worried about it. That's honestly just that is what it is. These two-wheel drive PPVs are really, really nice. They sit a little bit lower in the back. These wheels are ugly, by the way. I can't stand them. I got to get different ones, horribly. They sit a little bit lower in the back, sit a little bit higher in the front. This seems to get better traction in the winter than the four-wheel drive ones do when they're in rear-wheel drive. I think it's because there's more weight on that rear axle, plus I fill it up pretty good. These two-wheel drives are really, really nice. They're sporty, they're fast. Honestly, I think it's 0 to 60 is probably faster than that Police Interceptor, I think. This thing's really quick, it corners well, it drives like a car. You feel like you're sitting in a truck because you are, but it drives like a car. Really responsive. I like the way these drive. And I'm going to get some winter tires, and we're going to put winter tires on it in the winter to help us get through a little bit. Yeah, these Police Interceptors are not bad, but I'll tell you what's the problems with these. So the problem with these Interceptors, this one's not doing it. Actually, it is starting to do it. These things always rust around here. These were actually factory installed ions. It's rusting, that has to get dealt with. But these have rust issues. These are okay cars. They're fine. But you gotta babysit the stupid things. And if you're paying someone else to work on them, you're gonna go broke. That's just all there is to it. You bring... Here's what I've found with shops all over the country. You bring them a Chevy Tahoe like this, and ask them if they can get work on it right away. They will, because they know it's relatively easy. There's lots of room to work on it. You bring them a piece of shit like that, and they don't want to touch it, because just to service the PTU and that thing, just to do the fluid, you're supposed to pull the exhaust down. You got to drop the subframe, and then you got to do alignments. With this thing, there's almost nothing that I can't do in this. Without, I don't have to take anything apart. You need to do the transmission fluid. It's got a drain plug. This one doesn't. It's got a nice drain plug in it. If you got to service the oil pan, if you got an oil pan gasket leak, you don't have to drop the subframe on this. It's all right there. These are really solid trucks. And like I said, we have the other one down in Georgia that we're going to clone the lights, all the lights and the controls and the equipment, cameras and all that on this one are going to get cloned to that one. Same with the tires. I'm going to put the KO2s on both of them. So that will basically allow us to have two identical Tahoes so you're not missing anything. So if this one needs to go in to get the rear main leak, you just grab the gray one, and you are driving an identical Tahoe. The only difference between the Tahoes is that one has a 6L80 in it. Gross, but whatever. It is what it is. It's not that bad of a transmission once you have it gone through. All right, so let me look at what year is the new. So yeah, 2020 Tahoe, 2009 Tahoe, 10 years apart. I like this one better. I think it looks cooler. I mean, okay, yeah, it's got the grill and all that, but I really like the looks of these PPVs with the push bumper on it. It does need a repaint on the bumper needs repainted. It's chipping. The paint on this truck's actually horrible. I repainted this door, if you can't tell. This truck really needs to be repainted. I don't know how much it would cost. I imagine I could probably just take it to like a Mako and have them just sand it and throw a coat of white over it and then a coat of clear, and it'd probably take care of it. It doesn't have any rust issues, and the paint's not missing. It's just really beat up. It just needs a top coat put on it. That's something I probably need to pull the stickers off and get it repainted. Honestly, the paint's pretty shitty. It's partially why I got it so cheap. I paid $6,500 for this thing over a year ago, and it's been a fantastic truck. But I think these things look better, especially with the little push bumper on them. I like the body style of these better, and you know, it is a good middle ground. That Ford Explorer will do really well in the snow as long as you put a good tire on it, like a Michelin Cross Climate 2, a Firestone Weather Grip, a Pirelli, or these are actually the top tires, the Goodyear Eagle Enforcer All Weathers. They're pretty good. This is what came off of it. These are pretty good tires. I like these. They're just pretty worn down. But as long as you have a good tire on that, they do really well in the snow. Probably a little better than this. But if you put a winter tire on this rear-wheel drive SUV, which is different than a pickup, because a pickup doesn't have that weight in the back. This has probably 500 pounds of gear in the back of it, and it squats. It's actually is 2 inches lower in the back than the front, and that's from the factory. That's how these PPVs are. The only reason this doesn't look like a PPV is it's got the stock tire size, the 265/70 17s. The PPVs come with, I believe it's 265/70 17s, slightly smaller tire. Just fills up the wheel well more. But these squat a little in the back, and I think you've got a little more weight transfer. They handle fairly well in the snow. The only 2 times I got stuck last winter, and I don't even know if you can call it stuck because we got out right away. The 2 times that I kind of got stuck was my own ignorance. Number one, I was driving too fast, not dangerously fast, but you know, I should have been doing like 40, and I was probably doing like 50, and I just couldn't see in front of me, and I didn't realize that we were driving into the ditch and not the road, whatever. And the time after that, I just really wasn't paying any attention, and I ended up steering it into the ditch. So if you put winter tires, snow tires, like the Toyo, is it WRT ones? Toyo makes a dedicated all-terrain snow tire for trucks, and they are very good. And they come with 17-30 seconds of tread. They're really, really good tires, and they're like $220 a piece. If you put those on this, which I'm going to put them on a set of Steelies, and we'll just swap them on for winter storms. If we put winter tires on this, I suspect it'll do just about as good as that Ford Explorer would. You know, it doesn't have four-wheel drive, so it's not, and this goes for both Tahoes, I'm just talking two-wheel drive in general. It doesn't have four-wheel drive, but we're not driving in a muddy cornfield. We're driving up and down the highways covering these winter storms. Yes, four-wheel drive would be better, but coming from someone who lives in the snow belt, the rule of thumb is always take always take a rear-wheel drive SUV with snow tires over a four-wheel drive SUV with all seasons. The snow tires are better. You stop better. They work better in the cold. They're better on ice. They're better on slush. Now, you have to be careful what snow tires you get. Like, Blizzaks are good. A lot of people like the Hakkapeliitta Nokian ones or whatever. I don't. I think they suck, but some people like them. You just have to get a good snow tire, because some winter tire, there's a difference between a winter tire and a snow tire. A winter tire is basically going to kind of look like an all-season, but it's got a softer tread compound. A snow tire is going to have a softer tread compound, and it's going to have a lot of sipes, which are these little things here, but it's going to have a lot of these. It'll have just a bunch of them for really biting into that snow. And we'll put an actual snow tire on this thing, and I think we'll be all right. Honestly, it got us around last winter. I don't want to have a four-wheel drive truck and drive it all the time. I know I'm a hypocrite, because look what I have right here. But too many problems, too many failure points. If we have a vehicle such as this, that has fewer failure points, is cheaper to maintain when it breaks, and breaks less, then it just makes way more sense. Guys, I'm kind of stalling because I was hoping my mail would be here so we could unbox all of our stuff. I'm just doing an audio check here right now. Guys, I'm kind of... Okay. Yeah, so actually, I'll show you guys. Some of our supporters have actually sent us tires, but I don't know who because it didn't tell me. But we've got four KO2s, brand new. There's two here, yes. Somebody's probably telling me that's two. The other two are out back. Probably going to put these on the gray Tahoe, and then put those on the white Tahoe. And then I'm going to have to get different wheels and tires for this. But this is a good truck, and it's not going anywhere. It's just, we're going to use this for the mountains, and we'll put 10 to 15, maybe 20,000 miles on this thing a year instead of 120. I honestly can't afford it, guys. $14,000 in breakdowns. I'll say it again, in breakdowns since February, $14,000, and I'm saying breakdowns. I'm not saying brakes, suspension. I'm not saying oil changes. I'm talking about breakdowns, transmissions, engines, rear end pumps. Things that specifically prevent this from going down the road that are more than a 5-minute fix. $14,000. This has cost me, I've owned this since June of 2023. A lot of you guys actually helped me buy it because the Taurus took a dump. And a lot of you guys actually started just sending a bunch of money on PayPal, which I appreciate, without me asking. Just sent a bunch of money and actually paid for a good chunk of this. $6,500, and we've spent our money well. This has cost me $1,100 in breakdowns. $14,000, $1,100. And I've owned this for twice as long. The breakdown this had is it didn't start one morning in Texarkana. Thought it was the fuel pump. Had it towed. Shop screwed me over. They put a fuel pump in it. Got it to start, which it was an intermittent start to begin with. It started, and they sent it on its way with about a $1,000 bill. It wasn't the fuel pump. It's fuel pump driver module, and anybody, or fuel pump control module, whatever you want to call it. Anybody who's familiar with these GMT 900s, which is the Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon, Silverado, any of those GMT 900 platform trucks, that body style there, knows that always fails on these. I did not know it at the time. It's a $200 part and took me 5 minutes to change. I called the shop the next day and I was like, guys, I know you put the fuel pump in, but you misdiagnosed it. I'm like, are you willing to refund me the labor? I'm not asking for you to refund me the fuel pump because you did put the pump in, but I don't really think it was fair to charge me, $900 and something before tax, and it's not even the problem. Oh, that was the problem, blah, blah, blah. I was just like, what? I actually got so pissed at the people, I hung up on them and I disputed it on my credit card. It pissed me off. They didn't have the balls to own up and say, you know what, you're right, we did misdiagnose it. And the reason I'm really upset about it is because I told them, I actually called them, and I'm like, hey, a buddy of mine who works at a shop just told me that this might be the fuel pump driver module. Can you please check that? Oh, this doesn't have a driver module. It's built into the fuel pump. And I'm like, no, it does. It should be backed by the spare tire, which actually on this model year, it's underneath the driver's floorboard, but the other ones, it's by the spare tire. I'm like, I think it's by the spare tire. No, it doesn't have one. Okay, whatever. Well, really pissed me off. And I think, honestly, I think they just like raping people for money. That was ridiculous. The fact that I suggested the problem and then they wrote it off and then fixed the wrong problem and didn't even say sorry for it, that made me mad. So I can't, that's not even the truck's fault. So, you know, you have to look at this from a business standpoint, guys. I can drive around the Pavement Princess, which it really isn't. I mean, it's great off-road. But do I really need a lifted Chevy Tahoe that brakes every 5 minutes to drive around and chase storms where I literally only put it in four-wheel drive for like 5 minutes a year? Or should we drive this thing and its sister, which is the 2012, the gray, the tan one, which you guys have seen once or twice? Or should we just drive its sister truck and this one and reduce our operating costs? Think about it. $14,000, $1,100. Now, I drove this more than I drove that this year. Actually, no, I've still driven that, but let's just say this cost us an extra $1,000. So let's say $2,200 in breakdowns, just you know, because I put a lot of miles on this one and they would have been put on that if I didn't have this. That would have been $12,000 I would have had in my pocket right now if we weren't driving this thing around. It's $12,000. And imagine the stuff we could do. You could have bought 3 of these. Well, you could have bought 2 of these things, or at least another one. You know, $12,000 is a lot of money. We could do a lot of things with that on the channel. We could do a lot of upgrades and a lot of cool things and go a lot of places with that money. So I have to make the business decision here to just retire this. I'm not getting rid of it. I love this truck. But God, that bee is pissing me off. But it's going to go back. We're going to take this in the mountains, maybe on a winter storm or 2. But this is basically just going to be like a special event vehicle. We're going to start running these PPVs again. You know, I trust these. I like these. I think they look better. They're more comfortable. So I think we're just going to have to go to back to the PPVs. So, you know, might as well. I mean, it's a business decision. I feel like, you know, let's be brutally honest here. You know, when you guys subscribe to the channel, you watch ads, you super chat, you send PayPal stuff, that then becomes my money or my business's money. So I feel like out of respect for the folks that do pitch in and help, I feel like it makes most sense to make appropriate use of that money. $14,000 in 7 months is not the appropriate use of our fan and our crowdfunding. I can't do that. We're dropping bitrate again. Hold on. I'm just kind of babysitting this new system. We're dropping bitrate again. Still working though, right? Test. Hello? Hold on. I'm just kind of babysitting this new system. Okay, it's working. I'm just not used to using this. We do stream in 4K. I just forgot to tick the setting, but otherwise this would be in 4K right now. But yeah, this truck does the same damn thing as this one for a hell of a lot cheaper. So from a business standpoint, I really considered equipping and chasing in the Black Explorer, but those things are throwaways. They run a long time. The engines are really good, but they get to the point where they're just so expensive and so many things go wrong with them that they're just kind of throwaways. That's why there's so many of them out there. I don't think they're very good. The 2020 and newer, those are good. Much better platform vehicle. So maybe a new Police Interceptor. It's very possible that when these Tahoes wear out, we may go with the newer Police Interceptors. They're bigger, a little bit more Tahoe-like, and they're a little bit more reliable. So those things are kind of throwaways. That's something where if we were chasing with it and it had a head gasket leak, we'd probably just throw the vehicle away and get a new one, which is hard to do with all the equipment, which I will actually show you some of the equipment in here. Actually, I'll show you this truck. So we're going to be re-equipping, like I said, this one's going to be getting a couple of changes to the lights and the equipment, and then that gray one is going to get the same changes so that they will be the same. So anyway, I guess we'll look at this one first. I'll put the lights on and shit. So a couple of things you'll notice, this doesn't have a light bar on it. Obviously, the gray one does, so that's one difference that will be had in this. Okay, I guess this one runs on ignition power. Anyway. Oh, those... Okay, why do I have... maybe I do need to have the truck on. Okay, something is not right. These literally worked a minute ago. I tried them just before the stream. Huh. I wonder if I screwed something up. I wonder if the battery is just low. The battery is shot in this thing. Yeah, now it's working. So the change number one, all this is staying the same. Except that light stick, just like that big light stick. I've got another one and it's gonna go up top here, so that'll give our warning for that. So all this stays the same. This little light right here will get changed out for a light stick, so it'll basically be two of these. This still isn't working. What? I am so confused right now. Why? Oh, I know why. That's right. Oh no, that's not it. Alright. Oh my god, I don't know what's wrong. This worked a minute ago. Yeah. Okay, well, something's wrong. Whatever. Okay, that's fine. It's all getting redone anyway. But changes to this one. All this remains the same. So the front of the other Tahoe, additions will be these fog light warning lights. And we'll switch out the short light stick because that other Tahoe has a small one. We'll put the bigger one on it. And then it'll also get the lights in the windows. This truck, because it does not have a top light bar, is going to get a visor light bar, just like the one in my new truck. Just like up here. But otherwise, they're going to be pretty much the same. I'm hardcore stalling right now, guys, because I was really hoping that UPS would be here with all this stuff, and then I could just show you. Let's see. Look through the chat here quick. I don't know anything about Hondas, Mark. I don't think I'm getting the full chat.
We're dropping bit.
This is weird. Okay. But yeah, all the equipment in here is going to get left. This is a good truck, and it's going to stay. A good truck. Once it's fixed. But let me see when this stuff's supposed to be here. Yeah, it's out for delivery. Oh, this is all coming USPS. Oh yeah, this stuff won't be here for hours. They suck. So that, I guess maybe that'll just be that. So totally clickbaited you guys. We didn't do an engine teardown. We didn't do mail time. We didn't do anything that we said we were going to do. Just mainly out of laziness. But yeah, I'll probably go get some small bolts or screws or something for that airbox. But that's just, I used to get really upset about stuff like this, but now I just kind of accept it as part of this job. I tell you what, though. I feel bad for anybody that freaking buys one of those pieces of shit. Those Explorers. Now, like, don't get me wrong, for, like, what we bought it for, it's fine. But I can't believe that I ever drove one of those every day for chasing. They're just not... They replaced the Crown Victoria, but it's nowhere anywhere near it. Like, they suck. They really do. I wish they didn't, but the 2020s and newer, like I said, once these all wear out, we'll probably get 2020 or newer Explorers and run those. But it's kind of looking this thing over. Let's see, what does chat say? I won't touch the Dodge Durangos just because I don't know anything about them. I really don't. So, all right, guys. Well, that's probably going to be about it for me. Yeah, that's probably going to be about it for me. I'll have maybe a members stream later, or maybe even a members update or something a little bit later on once mail time shows up. But that's going to be my plan for this week, pending any chases. First priority is getting this thing equipped. It's supposed to be super nice. It's supposed to be 80 degrees here tomorrow. It's almost a little bit too warm. But first priority is equipping. Goddamn fucking bee! I swear to God. Is equipping this to spec, and then we'll copy the gray one to it. So I think this week I'm going to go down and grab the gray one. I don't know if I'm going to fly down and get it and drive it back, or if I'm going to drive this down and drive that one back and leave this down in Atlanta, or if I'm going to drive this one down and equip the other one there and then leave that in Atlanta. I don't know what I'm going to do. I haven't decided if we're going to keep both of these in the same spot, or if I want to keep one down there and one up here so we can start flying back and forth. I guess I need to research the cost of plane tickets from like Madison to Atlanta, because it honestly might be kind of nice to have something down there and then kind of eliminate some of that drive too. But as for the decals and the livery, I think we're going to do basically the same. I really like, this is the old font, but I really like the new font. So we'll probably do that on the gray one. I just need to figure out what color decals to put on it. I actually thought about wrapping it, but it's not worth it. What I thought about doing would be funny is getting one of those Storm Seeker wraps like we did with the old Explorer, and just changing the Storm Seeker brand on it to seethestorm.net, and then just making it identical, and then just wrapping the Tahoe in that. I feel like that would be the epic way to troll the internet, because all these people out there seem to be real kind of butthurt over that thing, and I just think it'd be really funny to just troll the hell out of it. So you never know, maybe this thing won't be white next time you see it. Maybe it'll be green and black and be a total troll fest. I don't know, probably not. But. So that's where we're at. I just wanted to give you an update. That's why I'm not chasing today, but that's okay. We'll get her together, and I'll probably see you guys here next time. And thanks for watching, everybody. Let me skim the chat here. Your son has a 2020 Suburban? Sell it. Just sell it. It's the same thing as this truck. Just sell it. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you all later.